latest figures show that we have over 300,000 homes in America being foreclosed every month. Over 2.5 million homes have been foreclosed in this country. We have an unemployment rate of 9.5%. People are walking their mortgage because that's the only way out of this entire mess.
My wife and I, we go out at nighttime, ride around, and about 75% of the homes out here, you'll see midnight moves. And they're just leaving them. They're just walking away from them because you can't sell them for the price that you bought them for.
There's a direct link between the lack of protection to the consumer and the home that is underbuilt, overpraised, and oversold, and the financial collapse that we have in this country today.
The day we first started looking at homes, we liked the hometown country atmosphere of Hutto, and we thought this would be a great place to retire.
You're out there looking at homes, and you see this is a new subdivision, brand new homes, and you go in and talk to the salesperson, and of course this model is beautifully decorated, the house looks great, and they tell you that you can move into this house with little or no money down.
Lennar made it extremely easy in buying their homes. They had an incentive that their homes had everything.
Lennar representatives basically told me I would get additional discounts on the home if I used their lender.
They go in and they close on the loan, they sign a bunch of papers. Of course, they don't read everything they're signing. They simply want to get this process over and get into their new home.
Lennar told me that it would be basically a waste of time to get a third-party inspector out here because they had already had the home inspected and everything was up to par. It would basically be a waste of money on my part.
And then at some point after that, they become aware of some of the problems.
The very first day that we moved into our home, we noticed multiple problems, among which there was a knocking in the living room wall, and that was resulting from loose pipes that were not fastened down.
Within the first couple of months, we started having problems. The driveway cracked in half, nails started popping out of the sheetrock.
We had constantly shingles on the roof coming off and lifting up. We had shortages, which caused us to lose our big screen TV and a computer.
They're not poltergeists, they're not imaginary, they're real construction defects, which will have their source either in one of two areas. They'll either be emanating from poor construction or expansive clay soil.
We had problems with large holes in our yard, and Lennar had to keep coming out for a couple of years and bringing out truckloads of dirt to fill in the holes. It caused the fence to fall down.
In some cases, the noises become louder and louder, and the walls begin to shake.
And it's all through here. It's real bad in the master bedroom and in the dining room, and in our former dining room, it's the same thing. And they come out here, they repair these, and they don't even last maybe 3 months. And then they start cracking again and peeling, and sooner or later you'll have paint all over everything.
And we contacted the Lennar representative and asked them to take a look at it, and it was disclosed that they were having numerous complaints. They were repairing a lot of the homes in the neighborhood.
Your gut feeling about the whole process, it goes from concern to alarm. The builder has come out and quite often will profess surprise at what's going on. They don't understand, but they'll do the best they can to fix the problem.
Lennar said they were doing some repairs in the homes, and we questioned the repair process and what was actually the source of the problems. Kind of got some conflicting answers from them.
Well, Lennar will come in and patch cracks. They will address the superficial problem.
First they said that the sheetrock was nailed on improperly. Then they sent out a report that said the pre-existing year the weather. There was a lot of rain and there was soil movement.
If your foundation is moving, if your foundation is experiencing heaving and contracting, we have to understand that this soil out there is some of the most expansive in the entire country. When a drought occurs, it contracts greatly. When there is a lot of rain, it expands.
I was furious. My husband was too, because we are in our retirement ages. We didn't want to have a lot of problems with a home. That's why we bought one that was new. And had we known that it was on expensive clay soil with arsenic contamination, we would have never purchased the home at all.
We buy our home from Lennar. We move in. Our kids play outside like every others would. They're playing on the dirt. They could be being exposed to arsenic and high levels at that. And it's very, very worrisome. Both to me, my wife, and we're kind of afraid of what's actually out there. This is not the American dream.
The problem exists because under the Brownfield Act, which is a federal law that was passed in 2001, a developer can buy contaminated property. They can be put on the honor system to do cleanup. They then can sell that property to a builder. So the builder has no duty to disclose to the homeowner about the contamination. And the homeowner, of course, finds out about that after the fact, and they're stuck with a home. This is a law that simply invites, frankly, disaster to homeowners.
On the dates that they said they were removing the soil, remediating the land, I looked up on TerraServer to look for a footprint of activity going on the land, and the land was undisturbed during the time that they reported to the TCEQ that the land was being remediated. It clearly looked like a lot of the documentation was not adding up with what I was seeing using satellite imagery. So anyone doing due diligence on the property out here would never know that it was part of a VCP, a voluntary cleanup procedure. It was a brownfield. No one would have any idea.
There's no state agency overseeing, saying you cannot sell this piece of land, which you know to be polluted, without putting a deed restriction. If Lennar sells land such as that, then the injured person can sue Lennar for all the damages. And if children get sick for playing on land that Lennar should have notified them about, then Lennar is liable for all the damages. And if someone's sick for years, then they have to pay for all their care. And that's supposedly the deterrent.
In Texas, there is absolutely no requirement that a builder be licensed to build the largest purchase that a consumer will make in their lifetime, that is their home. Until September 1st of 2009, there were only 3 requirements for registration, which is not licensing. 1, a builder had to be 18 years of age. 2, they had to be legally in the country. And 3rd, they had to sign a paper that said that they were trustworthy. Those are the requirements that existed prior to September 1. Now there are none.
I think that if a person comes in to buy a home, they should be told everything. They should be showed the proofs of these homes being built, built perfect, built right. If you buy a home, that's just like if you buy a car. If your car breaks down and you have so much trouble with it, what's going to happen? You'll take it to a lemon law and they'll buy the car back from you. They have to. That's state law. But it's not here in the state of Texas. You cannot make the buyers buy your home back that's coming down, falling down behind you.
I asked Lennar to buy the home back, and they have refused. They told me explicitly Lennar does not buy back homes. We build them.
If there's a problem with a mortgage, if a mortgage is written between a land developer such as Lennar and a homeowner, and the mortgage fails because the homeowner loses so much money that they want to walk away from the home, or because the land is polluted and the medical bills caused by the pollution cause the home buyer not to be able to make the mortgage payment, then the financial loss is passed on to the owner of the derivative. So there's no deterrent. The company that wrote these bad mortgages can go ahead and write more bad mortgages. In the past, they would lose money and they would go out of business, or their shareholders would tell them they have to stop and get new management.
The people who live in the Legends of Utell and the other subdivision operated by Lennar, we have found mold problems that really harm people. For example, there's a lady over in Utell, in one of the subdivisions, whose husband is a Vietnam veteran who has trouble with his lungs. And he had an Agent Orange experience during the Vietnam War, and so anything like mold affects him very quickly.
Mold started getting into the windows, and we had mold contamination throughout the home.
It was coming up on the side of where the windows was installed. The most toxic mold that was in any of the rooms was in our first bedroom. It was causing problems with my lungs, where I could just barely breathe on the inside of the house. And I was rushed to the hospital various of time, and I had to be on life support, where they was physically pumping oxygen into my lungs.
On June 17th of 2009 of this year, my husband and I met with Sean Chandler. Sean Chandler is the Texas president for Lennar. During that meeting, which lasted over 2 hours, Sean Chandler told me that the chances of HUD coming back and doing something really bad to Lennar was very great. It is falsifying a government document. The government document that Sean Chandler was referring to is this form. It's a HUD form 92541. It's required on all FHA and VA loans, and it explicitly asks certain questions, among which is the home built on expansive clay soil. On my document, Lennar put an X under no for everything, including that it was not built on expansive clay soil. At the bottom of the document on the next page, it states that false certification could lead to fines and it's a felony. I think he felt that they were going to probably be penalized by HUD, but they would just have to pay the penalties.
The more I researched, the more I started seeing a pattern with reports of neighborhoods in Florida being built on top of bombs. El Toro, they purchased that property and it has high levels of contamination. Hunters Point, dealing with asbestos out there. The list goes on and on and on.